Okay, I promised my little young ones that are following me that rather than all this drama, all this money begging, first thing you got to remember is that people are where they're at because of the choices that they made. People are where they're at because of the choices that they made. That goes for your parents. That goes for you. The one thing that I want to hone in on is that you see the original freedom fighters were teenagers, the young ones. Like I keep telling you, this is your world. Your world to shape, to form in the manner in which you want your future generation to live. I have copies. Before I decided to convert over to Muslim, I read the Bible. As you can see, I read the Gnostic Gospels, the Jewish Gospels, which are the Old Commandments. If you all didn't know, Sears and Roebuck was started by a black man by the name of Roebuck. He started that department store, and when he sold it, in the contract it stated that the name Roebuck had to remain on the store. And as you can see, that promise was broken. It's not known as Sears and Roebuck now. It's only known as Sears. That's another piece of education that you're not taught in schools. Uncommon Valor is the story of black men and women that fought in the Civil War. Yes, you had black men that fought for the Confederate, who was for slavery. They fought with the promise that if they won, the Confederates won, that they would have their freedom. I also have the book, The Color Purple. The reason why I purchased the book rather than just look at the movie is because movies don't always give you a clear picture of what the story was about. If you can see, the story is written in the same way they spoke. And I want you to ask yourself, if we came here from Africa, we came here speaking our native tongue. So when we use the words who, that, men's, women's, we learned that from the Southern slave. We did not know how to speak English, but yet they want to call how we speak Ebonics. No, that's the Southern way of speaking. Most of them were not educated. And the little education they did have, they truly didn't want us to have, because you were killed if you were found to be reading, or if it was known that you knew how to read. I also purchased The True History of Master Fard Muhammad, written by Elijah Muhammad. Fard Muhammad was considered to be an apostle. Just as the Most High said, there will be more that come after me, but only those with pure in soul and spirit and in mind will be able to recognize them. This book is called Lest We Forget, and it tells you the passage from Africa to slavery and emancipation. Marian Anderson was the first woman to sing opera, not only in English, but in Italian. She was allowed to perform before white audiences only. The second one was Leontine Price. The other book I brought out is In White America, From Slave Ship to Ghetto Riots, What It Meant for 2 centuries to be a black man. Not 2 centuries. It's still going on today. They don't teach you that the Greeks went over to Egypt to study geometry, to study how to build, to study masonry. We are the original Masons. Masons comes from the word builders, masons. That's why people now that are expecting reparations by saying that we built America. Right now, if you needed work done on your home and it's a brick home, you would look up masonry. There's also a group called Shriners. Masons are white Masons, and then you have black Masons. Yes, they have their own lodges. Yes, they look out for one another, and about 90% of your police officers are Masons. They have put in our head that Masons are demonic, that Masons are evil, that Masons hold secrets. It is just like you pledging to any fraternity. And I need you to ask yourself, why would you pledge to Phi Sigma Beta, to all these Greek fraternities and sororities, when Greeks were known to be the freaks, to sleep with animals, to sleep with men, man on man, woman on woman. Anything that you see today, as far as the industry, or any type of anything, writing, anything, they have to take a pledge. And a pledge is done through a form of masonry. So when you watch these movies on TV of a pale complexion attempting to teach you who you are, yes, they studied us very, very, very well. They pitted us against each other very, very, very well. Through affirmative action, they pitted the black man against the black woman. Affirmative action came in place in the early 70s. And at that time, they stated that companies had to have a certain percentage of blacks, a certain percentage of women. What a better way to break up a family than to hire a black woman who is making more than her black husband, who has a hard time getting a job because he is black. No man wants to know that he's the tail. A man knows that his purpose is to be the head, to provide for the family. But affirmative action took that away. The biggest fear that they have is of black men. That's the fear. Along with that, I also purchased this, which is the 10 Commandments. It is in Hebrew, but it is still the 10 Commandments. See, you have to understand, they took everything away from you, from your diet, emasculating the man, by giving a woman a job, paying more than a man could, hiring women before they would hire a black man. And of course, colorism came into effect. So the lighter you were, the easier it was for a black man to get a job. At that time, the Black Panthers were still in existence. The Black Panthers were about separation, about taking care of their community. Your free lunch program came from the Black Panthers. They made sure that kids, before they went to school, had food, breakfast, a healthy breakfast. They made sure after they got out of school that they had dinner, and they were walked home to make sure that they got home safely. This, what we see going on now, is due to taking the heads. When I say the heads, I mean the Larry Hoovers, the heads of the different gangs, and putting them in jail for life. And from there broke off sects of gangs. And there was no head. So now you have black on black gangs fighting one another, killing one another. It was a violation to kill a child. It was a violation to disrespect a mother. It's a violation to disrespect an elder. But those violations are not being put in place because the heads are locked up. See, everything they try to do to us, it turns back around on them. As I mentioned before, and Godfather #1, please don't sit up and idolize Scarface. That movie was only about a poor Cuban that was able to come to America and get into the drug game. It not only hurt him, it hurt his family, and it hurt his people. For some reason, our minds have been programmed that fast money, drugs, no matter who you sell it to, fast, fast, fast. But they never thought that their kids would ride in from the suburbs to the city to get these drugs. And now you have an epidemic of mainly pale complexion, young, 15, 16-year-old that are strung out on heroin, strung out on meth. All these are man-made. Meth is man-made. It's so toxic that if you move into a house where meth was made, that house now becomes toxic to you. And realtors don't release the information that used to be a meth house. All the elements that they put into making meth seeps into the walls. They bury it out in the land, in the backyards. So now you don't know that this house that you bought was a meth house. And it's now starting to affect your children. So again, the freedom fighters, which is now you all, you in colleges, you young ones, you all are now the freedom children. You all must fight for your rights. You all must fight for equality. You all must raise your hands if you're in college and question, debate, study. It's indoctrination. They teach you what they want you to know. I'm going to say that again. They teach you what they want you to know. You have to have a mind that questions the question. Always question the question. Don't feel like that they're so superior over you. Remember, you're paying tuition, so you're paying their salary. Anytime you pay someone's salary, they now work for you. That's in any field. From your politicians, who you vote into office, down to your college professors. Please start studying the Greek culture. Study why Rome fell. It fell because of the over-sexual behavior that was done over in Rome. Hannibal came in and conquered Rome. Do not believe when you see on TV or you see a movie about Hannibal that he was of pale complexion. Hannibal came in on elephants. The Greeks had never seen elephants, and it scared them to death. And they were able to rule for over 2 centuries. That's why you can see Italians that have hair and get their hair faded when they get it cut. They can get a fade just like a black person. Some of their hair is kinkier than black people. Some of their complexions are that of biracial people. Men are men, and if Hannibal ruled, that means that his soldiers slept with the women. The biggest thing you can say as an insult to an Italian is to call him a mullah. They know that they have a lot of black in them. If any of you all ever watch Jersey Shore or anything that you see that is of Italian, you will see that they act, they speak, and they can relate. They even go to black barbershops to get their hair cut. Again, you must be a scholar, not a student. A student is limited to what they're going to be taught. I have 2 friends that are tenured professors in universities, and the question I posed to them was, how do you feel when a student would you prefer that a student raise their hand and ask you questions, or do you prefer the ones that just sit back and take notes and never question you? And the answer I got from both of them is, I prefer the ones that raise their hands and ask questions, because I still question the question. So if your professor is still questioning the question, then why shouldn't you? Start getting on debate teams, especially when it comes to African American history. Start studying. Everything that they do, we do the opposite. Yes, you'll see them in Prada, Gucci, all these brand names. You see them in it because they get paid to rock their gear. Because they know if you see your favorite rapper or whoever you look up to rocking Prada and Gucci, you're going to want to have it. So when you see them all rocking all this Fendi and Prada and Gucci, they're spokespersons. They've sold out. They get everything free. While we spend our last to try to keep up with a trend. Be your own person. Get your own swag. You weren't put here to please others. You were put here to learn, to go within your spirit and find out what your path in life is. And no one can tell you that. That was ordained to you when you were conceived in the womb. If there was chaos and screaming and hollering going on while your mother was carrying you, you also heard that. You were also a part of that. And when you're born and your character starts coming into place, and you wonder why the angriness or why hearing people argue upset you, it's the things that you were hearing while the vessel was carrying you. They have movies called blaxploitation movies. You can go to YouTube. I would suggest, if you really want to see how they got the man out of the home, look at Claudine. It shows you when the welfare system was put in place, a woman could receive help from the government as long as there wasn't a man in the home. And social workers paid visits without announcing. They knew everything that that person owned. So if they saw a new iron, they knew how much money that the woman got and knew that she couldn't afford a new iron. So she was questioned, where did you get the money from? So a man being a man who doesn't want to see his children and see his family struggle and not have a roof over their heads, which is why the projects were built. They really were for temporary housing for those that came home from war until they were able to get on their feet. For Black people, it became home. And of course, anytime the government gives you anything, they have the right to come into their property, inspect their property. You have to follow their rules, and if not, they can put you out. That's why I encourage each and every one of you to never be dependent on the federal government. At an early age, start investing your money. For those who work, if they have a 401k plan, have the maximum amount taken out of your check. After you've worked with a job for so long, the company meets the amount of money you put into your 401k. That money is then put into stocks that you can choose if you want to go with high risk, low risk, mid risk. You can choose if you want to diversify it, if you want to change from the stock that your money is in. Let your money make money for you for the future. At 19 and 20, yes, we still have the same minds, emotions of a 19 or 20-year-old. But life is a 360. Everyone is born to die. Prepare yourself. You should never be a grunt for anyone. Black women, you can get a small interest loan to start your own business faster than a black man. Whatever you're good at doing, whatever your heart desires, go into that field. Go into culinary if you enjoy cooking. Go into masonry, men, if you enjoy building. And then start your own companies. Hand them down from generation to generation. Each presidential candidate is promising reparations because they want the vote of the melanin. They know by 2025, America will be populated by more people of color, which is why I recommended that you invest $2.99 and purchase on Google Movies the movie Purge 2013. You are watching it happen today. Degentrification was put in place back when the AIDS epidemic came about. When you go on vacation, yes, enjoy yourself, but also find your history. There were more people from Africa that were displaced in South American countries than the United States. And there are a group of blacks who feel that people of South American descent are not black. Travel, get your passport. Some of them are as black as the bottom of your shoe, kinky hair, but they may speak French, they may speak Dutch, they may speak Spanish, because the Dutch, the Spanish, the French, and the Irish were the top slave traders. So yes, you're going to speak their language the same way we speak English. For those ancestors that were brought to the shores of America, they were taught the English language. So please, do not discriminate against your South American brothers and sisters. In Jamaica, you will find light-skinned blacks because, of course, Jamaica is known for the coffee. They needed someone to pick the coffee beans. Aruba is known for the rum. They needed someone to pick the sugar cane. So we first have to unite and stop the division with this colorism. And then we need to start loving one another, but we can't do that until we love ourselves, until we know who we are, until we know that we have been brainwashed from generation to generation to generation. And that's called a generational curse. Again, please watch Claudine. It's $2.99 on Google Movies. Please rewatch Roots, not Roots, Roots. There's a lot of messages. Please rewatch The Color Purple. Our men treat us the same way as they watched the slave master treat black women, by calling them out of their name: bitches, wenches, whores. But I promised you I was not going to use this channel for all this madness that is going on in a virtual world. That's the six-headed beast: Twitter, YouTube, Periscope, Snapchat. Can't think of the Facebook. Can't think of the third one. But that's the six-headed beast. And that's what I call it, the beast. It's very few channels you can go to and get education. The channels that you go to is black on black hate being spewed. But this is not our world anymore. It now belongs to you. Break the generational curse. If it was people not speaking on what they went through, your parents, your grandparents, and you see the same thing happening over and over again, you have the choice to change it. Do not allow a third race to be made by encouraging biracial marriages, and 50 years from now, you will not see a dark-skinned person. Find a African store. They have them in every city. Sit down and speak to them. Learn who you are. They don't understand American blacks. They don't understand our ways, why we kill, hurt one another, because they were taught about slavery from the pale man. So you understand how it's going? So you have Africans that come here that dislike American blacks. And then you have American blacks that dislike Africans when we're all the same. But all of this mess going on YouTube, it's all for the money. It's called fast money. It's called drama. It's called downing one another. It's called uneducated people that are not willing to put in the work, who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and they didn't make the right choices in life. So they find themselves on YouTube spewing hate for a check. It's like a welfare check that comes in every month. And they'll make video after video after video after video. And they don't understand what they're doing to the young minds. I have more books, and I'm going to end this video by sharing with you. Again, this is your dream catcher. Dream catchers are used by the American Indian, and they're used by blacks. We are a spiritual people. If you buy the NIV Bible, African American NIV Bible, it tells you we are a spiritual people. This painting is done by an artist from Yoruba. This is a ritual, a sexual ritual that was done in Africa. Their customs, their ways are different. In Samoa, because they have more men than women at a young age, they raise young boys to be girls. We look down upon that. And who are we to judge? This has been a ritual that has been with them for years. That is to keep everything clean, to do the job of a woman. So when these young boys are born, they're dressed as girls and they're raised as women, just like during slavery. Certain slave masters only purchased male slaves. There were no females. Yes, at night they would sneak to the next plantation to sleep with a woman. However, if they got caught, they got killed. So they ended up having sex with one another. So they emasculated the man well before what is going on now. Yes, I'm with the LGBTQI community. But a lot of that behavior, yes, genetically, we're born that way. Back in those times, it was forced on men that there is a tribe in Africa where the man is married and has a family, and in their belief, it's okay for the man to sleep with another man. It is not unusual. And of course, the pale skin took advantage of it. They moved to Africa so they can fill out their sexual fantasies. It had nothing to do with their religion or their belief system. So if the Holocaust was found to be genetic and that their generations now are receiving reparations from the Holocaust, which didn't last over 400 years as slavery did, that means that the torture and the PTSD of slavery is genetic within the Black community. But we have to be the ones to change it, and it starts with knowing thyself. King James was Black. You must decode the Bible. The answers are there. Decode it. You must know that children fought. The ones getting bit by dogs, where they would put extra metal inside the dogs' mouths. Water holes, spit at. It wasn't the adult, it was the children, the teens that got fed up. If it wasn't for them, we still would not be able to drink at fountains that people of different complexions drink from. So to all my young ones, I encourage you to please, in your neighborhood, even on Google, it's very, very hard to find true information about yourself. What sparked my curiosity as a youth, I wanted to be an Egyptologist. I wanted to go and study. And then my cousin married a woman from Kenya. And then my niece, her father is from Lebanon, Muslim. So I was able to sit down and talk to them and ask them how their culture is. Why is it that their culture is like a fist? See, in a fist, when you got your fist balled up like this, it takes maybe 2 or 3 people to unpry that fist. We're like this. We're flinging. And when fingers fling, or your life is flinging in the air like this, anybody can come and break it apart. You want to live together as a fist. You want to take your children on vacation. It doesn't have to be to South America. The Underground Railroad is all throughout the United States, and Harriet Tubman was not the first woman. She was actually hired by the railroad system to transport workers that were working on the railroad line. See, they twist our history so much. Rosa Parks was not the first to refuse to sit at the back of the bus. You have got to understand the lies and the truth. And to understand that, you must work on your diet. The intestines is made the same way as the brain. What you're feeding yourself, you're also feeding the brain. You must stop eating the scraps that were passed down from generation to generation. The pork, the chitlin, the guts, the scraps that the pale ones didn't want to eat because slaves were given sacks of food to last them. And once that food ran out, that's when we start eating possum, rabbit. Possum is a rat. We started eating anything to stay nurtured in order to stay alive. We eat from the earth. We eat from what the Most High planet on this earth. We did not drink alcohol. We did not drink spirits. And again, that Bible, you must decode it. Once you decode it, you will understand how to get your freedom. In the meantime, I'll do another video and share even more. You can leave your comments. You can leave thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm not on PayPal. I'm not on Cash App. I'm not on anything. I'm here because I lived it. I saw it. I experienced it. And I study it. May Allah be with you forever. May He forever hold you in His deepest of favor. May He keep you protected. May your ancestors continue to guide you and protect you. May the Most High help you be still so you can hear what your legacy is. And your legacy is not to sit on YouTube and downgrade and gossip and follow people who need validation or are using this to supplement their income and not knowing what this generation is doing with it. Love and light.